Three, two. Welcome, everybody, to the Sport Feels Life podcast. I'm Bill Riddle, your host, and we are continuing our series on mental health and sports performance. And we've got an amazing guest with us today, Elizabeth Zanolli. Thank you for joining us all the way from up in New York. Elizabeth, our series has been kind of dedicated to helping coaches, athletes, and maybe some of the parents that are watching as we kind of navigate less of the physical, and more of the mental side of things. And what's really interesting is you've got a really cool kind of a background, and I want you to tell everyone kind of like your journey here, because you're an assistant athletic director of sports medicine at Stony Brook University. What has your journey been like, and kind of what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, first, thanks for having me. I'm glad I could be a part of it. I have been in the athletic training world, so we usually are taking care of all the physical injuries of athletes, student athletes. At the college level, it has now increased. So my job as a director of sports medicine is I oversee athletic trainers, and then also under me are sports psychologists and counselors, because we have learned that the mental and physical are both just as important. So we've really emphasized that. The NCAA has emphasized it. It's become part of their education that they want all the schools to have. It's become a best practice. We do yearly trainings for our student athletes with mental health. And I think it's with us because injuries affect the mental so much. And I think it's a piece that we were missing for a long time, and we've now added it. And it's something we really try to make sure that we're hitting when they do get injured. So,
Right.
I mean, I started as a college athlete myself, D3. I, had an injury, dealt with athletic trainers, and then said, this is what I want to do. And I've been doing it for 25 years. I've done some high school. I've done Division 3, Division 2, and now I'm at Division 1 and in charge of everything.
That's a nice journey. You also had, I think, some stops at Duke, the University of Tennessee, and USA Lacrosse. So kind of a wide background. Do you notice differences in the different sports as far as like not necessarily the injuries, but maybe the way the athletes kind of approach the injuries?
Absolutely. I mean, from when I first started, I think every sport has their own personality. And you see, if you're talking with a student athlete and you're like, oh, they must be a lacrosse player or they're a
Yeah.
tennis player. So just different personalities take on their sport. But I do think you see athletes and they're successful because a lot of them have that drive, that personality, to be a perfectionist, to make sure they're working hard. And sometimes that will affect them mentally also. It's
Yeah.
hard when things aren't going right or they're messing up, and that can affect them on a big scale mentally.
Right. Well, I mean, my day job, I'm a college tennis coach, University of Tennessee Southern. So
Okay.
we have a nice connection there. And I say this all the time. Our athletic trainers are literally the most unsung heroes that keep every coach, player, just kind of doing what we need to be doing and headed in the right direction. And I think they probably don't ever get paid as much as they need to be paid for all the efforts and stress and challenges that they face. So hats off to what you're trying to do. Um, so when you're talking about athletes and injuries, and is there how does an injury affect the players mentally in your experiences? I mean, you have this. We've got a girl that has had 2 shoulder surgeries on the team, and after the first one, she bounced right back and was doing great. But then when the doctor said, "Oh, there's some problems. We're gonna have to do this again," I could see how that was kind of like really stressful for her. Do you see the same thing?
Absolutely. I think every athlete's a little bit different, and it depends on what the injury is,
Right.
how long it's going to last. And like you said, when they have a back-to-back injury, it's almost deflating for them. They have to put so much energy into the rehab to get back, especially when it's a season ending. So they're like, I have a surgery. I know I'm going to get back. They do all the work, and then they have another injury. It's like, I have to go through this again. I don't know if I have the energy to do that because they put so much into it. So you definitely see it affecting athletes differently. When they know the timeline, we really try to, as athletic trainers, give them a timeline. Hey, this is probably a 2 to 4 week. You're going to be out for the whole season. This is something that's going to be long term. How do we work on those things? And we really try to give small goals,
Right.
so that they feel like they are accomplishing things. Because just like in their sport, right, they're at a practice, they know what a practice plan is, they know what they try to get out of practice. We try to do the same thing with rehabs and injuries. Okay, a surgery, you're not going to feel great for 2 weeks. Then you'll start to feel normal because you can walk again,
Yeah.
or you're not sleeping in a sling anymore. So we try to do little goals like that so they still feel like they're achieving or winning at something.
Yeah. Are there certain injuries, kind of maybe more strongly associated with mental health struggles for the athletes? I mean, you know, uh,
I
being a
think,
broken finger is one thing, but then like a busted shoulder is different, right?
yeah, I really think you see the big difference with how much time loss they're going to have.
Okay.
So, right, like a jammed finger, they're out for a couple practices, or a sprained ankle versus a surgery that's going to keep them out for the whole season. Definitely affects their mental a lot more. I think the biggest ones I've seen in my years are also ones that are unexpected. An illness,
Yeah.
a cardiac issue where it's like I might never get back to my sport again, that it might be taken away, and they're having to go through testing and different kind of appointments than just an MRI or a surgery. Those ones are really devastating, and we really try to watch the athlete to make sure, hey, are they still here? We worry about some depression, we worry about their moods, lack of motivation to continue to do their other stuff. For a lot of the athletes, it's part of their identity.
Yeah.
And so when you take that away, and if they've been doing it for a long time and you get to college, they don't know what they are without being an athlete. And so, which can be good and bad. I think it lets them navigate and look at what they are without the sport for maybe a couple weeks, maybe months, maybe a whole season, and they find new strategies or new loves or hobbies that help them get through it. Others really struggle and they can't get over I'm an athlete, and so they dive in more to the sport. How can I help my teammates? How can I help the coaches? What else can I do since I can't be on the field or the court? So every athlete's sort of different on how their path is to make sure that they're in a good spot.
Yeah.
And we just got to make sure we realize when they're not in a good spot and help them with finding those things out.
Yeah. This one just kind of came to me because this is one of those conversations that coaches have when we're kind of together and sharing or complaining or whatever you want to call it. And look, I'm an old guy. I've been around for a long time doing this, and was an athlete as well. Our kids, or the younger kids nowadays, are they a bit weaker than we were back in the old days? Because I hear that from other coaches being like, oh, back in the day we would rub some dirt on it, throw some tape on it, and we were off and running. And I think sometimes there's a disconnect with older coaches and then the players. Is that just us being old and crusty, or is it really like kids are a little bit softer now?
It's hard because I'm probably in your age group, kind of stuff. But I think they approach things differently. And some of those coping skills might be different than what we saw. I think, yeah, when I was growing up, it was like, tough it out, you're just going to get through it.
Yeah.
And now some of the athletes are, this is how I feel, how do I do this? So I think it's just a different way to reach out to them. And I think we see resilience and toughness as don't talk about it. And I think this population wants to talk about it and work through it and know the how and the why and what do I get through. So I think we have to, as us old folks a little bit, it's okay to say that you're struggling. You're actually tougher if you can say, this is hard on me and I don't know how to get through it, where we used to not want to hear those things. But when they say that as coaches and parents, then we have to hear it and help them through it. Do they have the coping skills? Do they know how to, I'm going to get up every day with this injury and I'm going to use my practice skills and my determination to work at rehab. So we just have to refocus them and teach them different coping skills, I think, and let them know, hey, it's okay to say you're struggling, or this is difficult. You've never had to deal with this.
Right.
And that makes you strong that you can voice it. But then how do we get through it? We can't just get stuck in it and not move forward.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's hard for us sometimes is we don't know how to get them over that stage, so then we feel they're weak, where it's just they don't know how to get over it. They've never had to deal with it, and they voice it more than we did 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I could never remember a time where we talked about our feelings or how we felt about an injury. It was just like, okay, if you're hurt, then great, get better quick and get back out there, kind of a thing. Or like you said, hey, suck it up, kind of tough through it a bit. You know, we need you, kind of a thing.
And I think when we do that now, we lose them. They're like, oh, they don't care about me, or they don't want to see this, and so you just have to find a different way to connect with them and help them through it, because I don't think they really know how to.
You know, I watch, you know, our athletes and our training staff and then our coaches, and you've got these three different kind of paths and mindsets. And for someone like you, where you're looking at both directions, I feel like you're standing in the middle of a highway, like an 8-lane highway, right? And you got athletes going one direction and coaches going another direction, and you're just there trying to like not get hit and keep everybody on the right path. Does it ever feel like that?
All the time. Sometimes I'm like, I'm a GM, or I'm just the manager of feelings and different opportunities. I think the coaches, they want them back out there. The players feel the stress from the coaches wanting them back out there, but they know they can't go out there, but they don't want to tell the coach. And so it's, Elizabeth, the coach wants me out there. They're saying, you know, they really need me out there, but I just can't go, and I can't tell the coach. And the coach is like, can they go? They're telling me they want to go. Why can't you let them go? And
Right.
so you are really stuck in the middle. And so I think it's just navigating what they're really saying and making sure the coach understands, I want to put them out there. If it's safe for them to go out there and the athlete wants to go out there, then I'll push them. And with the athlete, it's, hey, the coach wants you out there because you matter to them and you can help the team, but they're not telling you to play through an injury you can't play through or get hurt.
Yeah.
And so trying to explain that to the athlete, you know, because sometimes what they're hearing from the coach is just play through an injury, and that's not what the coach is saying at all.
Right.
They're just saying, I would love to have him, you know, and I don't think the coaches always understand, like them saying, hey, we really miss you out there, is putting a lot of pressure on the athlete to play through an injury.
Yeah.
Which, if it's a little thing and it's just aches and soreness, that's great. But if it's something that's going to hurt them more, the athlete doesn't know how to take that pressure sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, when you said that, I literally had a flashback or two of a couple of conversations with athletes. And you know, this past spring season for us in college tennis was one of the toughest, because we had probably the most athletes on guys and girls team, had the craziest, strangest injuries, and they lasted long, and then sicknesses where you had to go to the hospital because you got pneumonia and you can't play, you know, it's tough. And I think the role of the coaches is to try to take that information that you're giving us, right, and see what we have coming up, and then try to make that all fit. Um, but but the real question here is though, what can coaches do a better job of, or what can we do better to bridge that gap? Because I mean, our daily life is like, okay, how do we get the best team out there, the best players out there? And this injury is kind of like messing things up. But if we could do something, like, is it more training, more reading, more time with our trainers? What would you suggest for coaches?
Yeah, I think it's communicating with your athletic trainer and your athletes, like if your athletic trainer's saying that the athlete's hurt, having some conversation. How are you feeling today? Just as a person, not just as my, tennis athlete or a basketball, how does it feel? And maybe not pushing the timeline with them, but treat them as just a person and not your athlete. And then I think talking with the athletic trainer, what is their timeline? What do they need from me? Some athletes might need space from you. Other athletes might need you to involve them in practice. With tennis, can they, depending on the injury, could they feed some balls for
Yeah,
you? Could they be the line judges? Could they be watching a serve for you? And some athletes might say, it's too stressful for me to be at practice and be around it because that's all I want to be. And so it's making me even more mad. So I think figuring out what helps them continue to be a part of the team. Some
yeah,
might say, I want to go do my rehab during practice because then I don't have to do it for another hour or 2 hours after practice, which is stressing me out more because now I got to find time for practice and this and that.
yeah,
So I think each one's different. We have some athletes that are like, I want to be at practice and watch the whole thing. I'll come in after for an hour. Others are like, can I just do my whole rehab because then I know right after that I can get to class, I can do my studying. I have 6 other meetings I need to get through. So it really is individualized, and I think when the athlete feels like you are asking them what their concerns are or needs are to still be part of the team, then they feel like they're cared about, and they might push through some more of the little things that they can, and be more honest with you when it's just like, hey, coach, I tried, and I can't keep going. It just hurts too much.
yeah.
We don't want him to get to the point, right? We just NASCAR Bush, right? He's pushing through illnesses and sicknesses, and it becomes something really bad. So, you
Yeah,
know, but they want to be perfect too, and they want to be successful and push through things. And so, I think as coaches, what's normal for them,
yeah,
right? If their serves don't look right or they're not running right and they're trying to play through something, are they going to be good for you? Are they really helping your team if they're at 80% or 60%? Why not be out for a couple days and then come back at 100%? You know,
Y-
you
and
might
you
have an
talk
important
about
game and say 80% is enough for me. If you can only give me 80%, I'm okay with that.
right. Yeah, we talk about that percentage a lot with our athletes and with our coaching staff. Okay, if can you be 100%? And I never find that athletes are truly 100%. There's always something, right? And if you're honest with yourself, you're like, okay, today is 95% or 90% is all I've got because of something. And one of the things that was kind of making me think there is that coaches. I don't know if we spend enough time like actually in the training. Right now, I do because I've got a bum knee and multiple surgeries. I still go to the gym, so our training staff gets to work with me a lot. But uh, being in there and watching the other athletes as they're going through their rehab, things like that, and seeing like sometimes how difficult it is, and the pain and the not physical but also the mental side of things. Um, you ever see coaches kind of pop into the training, kind of keep an eye on things or understand what you guys are doing?
I lost you a little bit there, but
Oh,
I think we have one main athletic training room that all the teams sort of work out, and I think it's very beneficial that they see other people.
yeah,
Someone just had a surgery. someone has aches and pains, and they sit next to each other on a table and they're like, what's wrong with you? Oh, my hamstrings, tight or sore. And they're like, oh, so you didn't practice today? And the athlete's like, no, I practiced for 3 hours, but I'm coming in and I'm being proactive and I'm doing recovery. And another one's like, oh, no, I can't even run yet. And so they sort of talk about their stories together. And, some may have 2 ACLs and they're a week apart and one's already walking and the other one's not. And it can be a motivation. Oh,
Yeah.
they're already walking. Oh, I can put pressure on this. They're putting pressure on it. So I think seeing those examples are really positive for athletes. And on the other hand, it could not be, right? If they're 3 weeks ahead of a surgery and they're seeing someone that's already, doing squats and they still feel too much pain, they're like, why am I not there yet? But it also lets them see other people. Well, everyone's not the same. All the schedules of getting better and healthy, it's not cookie cutter. It's very individualized, and we talk about that. Everyone's pain level's different. This is your first injury versus your sixth injury. Okay, you know what it's like. So you know what you can push through. Someone that's never been injured, that pain level is a lot higher for them because they've never had to experience. So I think that's where athletic trainers are important, explaining the levels, explaining what it's supposed to feel like, explaining what's okay to play through and what's not. I have that conversation a lot with our athletes. Like, I'm not going to have you do something that is not safe. You may not feel like you can do it, but I wouldn't be at this level of rehab if you weren't there. Yeah. So trust me, you can go through it. It'll be painful, right? It's okay if you feel it. We don't want it to continue. We don't want it to swell up more. So we explain different strategies and stages, right? It's okay for it not to feel great, but if the next day you don't feel anything, that means we didn't do too much. If you wake up the next day and it's really swollen, okay, we did too much the day before. And so we try to get them to understand their bodies and how far they can push themselves. Because they push themselves all the time at practices when they're not hurt. So how can they, still push when they're sore versus when they're hurt? And there's two different distinctions. And I think that's what coaches, are you sore or are you hurt? And they have to learn and get educated on the differences.
Yeah, we talk about that, hurt or injured or just, a little stiff or sore from something. You said something a few minutes ago, and the word was proactive. And I can't ever think of a time, back in the old days, when we talk about this generation versus older generation, we were not proactive. I think this generation does a great job as a whole to be proactive. TheraBoots or, cold plunges or saunas or stretching or, just coming to the training room, taping, those type of things. Are we on the right path, or is there more things that you feel like athletes can do? Maybe kind of two-part. More things athletes can do to be proactive and also coaches can do to be proactive to help their athletes be healthier physically and mentally?
Yeah, I think we can always be more proactive. I think recovery is huge, and it's not something we always used to talk about. So I think coaches, right, you finish practice, hey, are we cooling down? Are you going during recovery? If you have foam rollers, if you have boots, are you doing those things? We utilize Fireflies now, which is a great recovery tool. But I also think easy things for coaches to talk about, too, that we forget as they get more elite is sleep is important, and nutrition. It doesn't matter how much you practice or you try to go in the boots and you do ice if you're not putting the right stuff in your body. Or you're staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning playing video games or talking to friends, and then you have to get up at 8 o'clock for a practice. Your body's not going to recover. It's not going to have time, and then you're going to have more injuries. So I think those are some big things. I think over the years, our trainings have gotten better. Kids are faster, stronger. We're utilizing things. And so when they don't do the little nutrition and sleep, it can really affect them, and we start to see injuries that way. And learning how to have some meditations, self-care, like what allows them to relax, to de-stress, right? Because if you're stressed, really stressed, that can cause an injury too.
Yeah.
Mental can be physical. We've had athletes that they come in and something's bothering them, and we do tests and we do treatment on them and rehab and all this, and nothing gets better. And we sit down and we say, what else is going on? Do you want to talk to our sports psychologist? And they start talking about different things that maybe go in life or pressures of the sport, and all of a sudden that injury starts to get better.
Right.
So it's amazing how much the mental can affect the physical.
Yeah, I think the superpower for some athletes or teams is the amount of sleep and nutrition that the focus they put on their nutrition. Because if you watch a lot of these, and you probably do, you see, they walk in tired, early morning because they've been up all night, and the nutrition is, they grab a couple of cheeseburgers and there's nothing really there for them to sustain. Is there a way to connect the importance of sleep and nutrition with this younger generation or these athletes? Is there something that coaches could be doing more to kind of help them understand those two pieces are so vitally important?
I mean, I think a lot of it's just education. And so maybe it's taking the 10 minutes after practice or 10 minutes before, where maybe you give them a handout on sleep and how much they need at the age group that they're at. There's a lot of different flyers out there on nutrition, just proteins, carbs, different timelines of when you should do it. You talked about tennis. Tennis matches can be really long. How are they refueling themselves? So there's a lot of stuff online. Yeah. And I don't know how many podcasts you've done, maybe a podcast on nutrition or sleep behaviors and education would be huge, because you don't realize how much those kind of things affect them. We usually at the college level, they will do a nutrition talk. We have a nutritionist, so they come in and they talk about what's good before matches or games, what's good right after for them to refuel. We have someone come in about sleep. How much sleep are you getting? Can you make it up? Different things like that, just to get some of the myths out of there and what you really need. Are naps good? How long should the naps be? All those things can be affected. You take a nap too long and then you're right before your match and now it makes you more sleepy. But a 30-minute could be really energizing for you. So I think just getting some of that education and giving them little tidbits, because we know this population, they're big on apps, quick stuff, getting information. So we try to do like 10 or 15 minutes. We have different TVs around that might have blurbs on them. We have different apps, communication apps. And so we might send out a flyer that has, sleep behaviors or nutritional facts before your match or games. Little things that they could go back to and just read. And maybe if they see it a whole bunch, a little bit of it sticks.
Yeah.
And we really educate them with injuries, because you don't realize, you think, I'm not playing for 3 hours now, so I need to eat less. But their body is trying to rebuild muscles or tissues, and so they actually burn a lot of calories. So if they get less calories, it could take longer for them to heal. So we really hit on that too. Like, we need to make sure you're getting good nutrition. We want to get the protein. We want muscles to rebuild. Lots of fluid, right? We want hydration so that your muscles, are good and can repair themselves and get that, extension with them. So we really try to hit that a lot with them. And when we have a big injury with a season ending, we mention, right? We have sports psychologists and counselors. Just like you're coming to rehab every day to work on the physical, you need to work on the mental. So, hey, we're going to set you up with our sports psychologist. Do a session. See how you feel. If it's something you like, continue to go to it. Yeah. But mental is a huge part of the game. And so I think continuing to push that is huge also.
Yeah. When we talk about the mental side of this, are there some warning signs that you have seen that coaches and parents can maybe kind of keep an eye on when you've got an injured athlete to maybe make sure that they don't go off the rails or go to a bad place?
Yeah, I think detachment is a huge one. If they want to stop being around the team, or they're not responding in the team chat anymore, they're not texting their teammates that they used to, or they're not going out with them anymore. I think the coach is seeing some body language. They come to practice, they're not engaged at all. You see a little bit more of a moping face. Their negative talk. I'm never going to get back. I'm not good at that. Some of those kind of talks. Definitely have some conversations with them. Everyone, I tell all my athletes that are going through rehab, you're allowed a bad day. Okay,
Yeah.
we can do poor me today, but tomorrow let's come in and we're going to tackle this rehab. And when you start to see 3 or 4 days, then it starts to become a pattern, and that's when you need to worry or be concerned. If they're coming and they look disheveled, their appearance is changing, you don't feel like they're taking care of themselves when it comes to appearance, and that used to be something that they were huge on.
Yeah.
So I think just seeing a difference for 3 or 4 days of what's normal. And as coaches and parents, you see them every day, same as athletic trainers. So when you start to see something change, there's nothing wrong with asking them that question. Hey, what's going on? You seem like you're different. You seem like you're down. Is there something I can help you with? How do we get you back involved? And every athlete might be different. And so I think just hearing them and listening to them, and then feel like you're hearing them.
You said something earlier that made me kind of make a little note. The push through it, right? I'm always hesitant when I want to say, hey, can you kind of just push through it? Because you never know. I mean, I don't. I'm not a trainer. I'm not a doctor. I'm just an old coach. But knowing when to say kind of push through it, is that something that coaches need to be more aware of? And then maybe also from an athlete standpoint, yeah, you're a little sore, you're a little tired, or whatever. You do need to push through it. How do you find the right balance with that?
That's a hard one. I mean, I struggle with that sometimes. When an athlete comes over to me, I look at how they were performing. Can you see that something's favoring them? They've changed their technique. They're walking with a limp, right? If they can't functionally do it, I'm not having them push through it. If they come over to me and they say, oh, my hamstring's really tight, or my shoulder's sore, I say, okay, there's 20 minutes left of practice. Do you think you can finish? No, there's no way I can lift my arm. Okay, well, then we're done.
Yeah.
But so I usually say, do you think you can finish? This is how much longer we have.
Right.
I don't, in this world now, I think we do have to be really careful. You don't want to say, push through it, you're not hurt, and then something else happen with it, and you're liable. So it really is a hard line. But I think, hey, do you think you can finish? These are the next 3 drills we're doing. You have 1 match left. I point out physical stuff. I don't see you favoring, like let's say they talk about their ankle. I don't see you favoring your ankle. You still look like you're jumping really well. I'm watching you change direction without any issues. So I think you can go through it. If you're telling me you can't, then we won't push.
Yeah.
And then it's continuing to educate them on pushing through it. What percentage do you think you're at? I use that a lot too. I don't want someone to continue to go if they're below 65. And
Right.
we've previously talked about that if they're coming back from an injury. To me, 65 looks like on the court that I can't tell it's bothering you.
Yeah.
Below 65, I might see a little limp when you stop. And so we talk about what those percentages are. So then when they're out there and they come over, I say, okay, what percentage we're at? Because we said we're going to keep going till you're at 70%. Oh, yeah, I'm at 75, so let me go back out there. Or they'll come back to me and say, oh, I'm at 50, I can't go anymore.
Yeah.
So I think being proactive and talking about you utilize percentages,
Yeah.
what does that look like in their head and your head so you guys are on the same page?
Yeah.
So when they come over, okay, where are we? Because we talked about this before you went out. And then it gives you a better point to say, so let's try to push through this because we're not at the percentage we agreed on, some of
Yeah.
those kind of things.
It's interesting because here in the South, we're getting kind of close to that time period, July and early August, when you've got soccer and uh, football and volleyball and these coaches, and inevitably every year, there's someone who falls out because the heat here in the South, and that's one of those things I think coaches have to be really aware of. Is like just mindful of pushing through, mindful of the stamina of some of the athletes, because you never want something really bad to happen, and it does every single summer here in the South. And I don't know if you see that as much up north, but the heat plays a huge factor.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
how is there a way? And I've noticed this too when you have Europeans. They come from Sweden or Finland, and they come here to play college tennis. They land in August in Atlanta, and it's 110 degrees and humidity off the charts. Is there a way to kind of prepare or get ready for extreme heat, humidity, and things like that? From the coaching standpoint, I'd love.
Yeah, I think acclimatization has been huge, and the NCAA has been big on that. Like, let's not start with two a days. Let's make sure that everyone's hydrated, taking more frequent breaks. Hopefully, most of you guys have athletic trainers, and they're looking at the humidity and the wet bulb and what they're supposed to be going at. We have a lot of rules and policies and procedures. If humidity is above this, we need to go for 30 minutes and then take a break. Let them have water, right? If someone's asking for water, don't make what you're doing taking away the water breaks.
Yeah.
Having it around where if you need some water, get in, get back in the drill kind of stuff. I think that's important, especially with soccer, right? There's so many, like, we're doing 3v3 and then you get a break and go back. I think keeping an eye on them, right? If they're just talking about, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I can't catch my breath, that's a lot different than an injury, right? So we can hit that heat exhaustion, heat stroke. We don't want those kind of things. When they stop sweating a little bit, like, those are huge things. So I think utilizing your medical staff that you have, and if you don't, pay attention to feels like temperature.
Yeah.
And keep them shorter, do more breaks, right? You could go out and practice for 2 hours, but give them the 2
Chop
minutes
it up.
water breaks and make sure they're feeling good. Also knowing some of their history, like you said, they're coming from international, they're not used to this. So let's go earlier in the day, let's go later when it cools off. How are you guys feeling? Paying attention to if any of them have sickle cell. That adds a whole nother thing into how their body regulates. Someone that has that and is talking about whole body cramping, that's a dehydration thing. So those people, you don't want to push through stuff. So once cramping kind of starts, that's pull them, get them hydrated, get the electrolytes. Maybe you spoil them a little bit and there's more Gatorade or Powerade out there, during those hot times, so they're getting some of that electrolytes back. But those, knowing the difference between a heat illness and just an injury are huge too. And so I think the more educated as coaches and parents you can get, you'll be able to see some of those signs and symptoms.
It's really, really good information for our listeners, coaches, parents, players. I think at the end of the day, some of it comes down to better communication, better education. Uh, the athletes as well. Athletes have to be well informed. Parents have to be well informed. Has there been a time, or maybe an example of athletes how that guy or girl handled their recovery really, really well and kind of what that was like for you?
Sorry, say that again.
Oh, I said that was there ever a time where there was an athlete that maybe was going through some injuries that you thought, well, that guy or girl handled it really, really well?
Yeah, I think we have some that come in and their energy level's huge. They're like, "What are we doing today? Can I do more?
Right.
Let me get. I'm trying to get back out there. What can I do when I leave here to work on my own?" And just that positive energy, it really does help them through rehab. I think when the athlete comes in and is just like, "Oh, what are we gonna do today?" It makes it harder when they come in and they are, what's on the schedule today? I got this. Let's get through it. So I think you can figure out how to have them come in with that energy. And sometimes it's the athletic trainer that's giving them the energy for the day. Hey, let's go. Come on. We got 3 left. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm a cheerleader instead of an athletic trainer.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but that's what they need sometimes. And other times, every athlete's different. They want to know what's on the schedule for tomorrow. So there's sometimes I'm like, hey, tomorrow we're running on the treadmill. Tomorrow's a strength day. And I think when they know that mindset going into it, they can plan better. And so they come in focused. Hey, this is going to be an hour and a half long day today. We're going to be in and out in 30 minutes. So they
yeah.
come in and they're, hey, let's go. What's the 30 minutes? I'm ready to go. So I think also giving them small goals. I usually do like 2 weeks and then we switch things up. Okay, so for these 2 weeks, we're going to work on your range of motion. The next 2 weeks, we're going to start working on strength. Oh, these 2 weeks, we're starting to do sports specific. And so I think that keeps them going too. I think trying to incorporate their sport back into rehab gives them motivation also.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to let me balance on a ball today, but at the same time, I'm bringing my tennis racket with me, so I get to hit the ball back to you. It gives them more energy.
Yeah.
So when they know they're starting to get back to the sport, you see that too, and they get the little sparkle back, and that they can put more energy into it. So I think the athletes that come in with the same mindset as practice or competition for their rehab, they're the most successful. And the ones that stay involved with their team, knowing
Yeah.
that they're still valued and a part of it and they're making a difference, their mental state is better, and I think they do better with rehab.
You mentioned energy a couple of times there, and one of my big concerns as a coach is the energy drinks. It seems like kids nowadays are literally they drink it like it's water. It's nonstop all day long, and I I don't know that that's a great thing, right? What is your take on the amount of energy drinks this generation seems to be consuming, and is it good or bad? Or I'd love your thoughts on that.
I'm old school. I don't think they're good. I've sat in on lots of talks with nutritionists and different things, and right, some will talk about a little caffeine before a match and a practice is good. But same thing, we don't want anyone drinking 5 cups of coffee. It's just too much for their body. How are we getting them the stuff that they need? I think one energy drink, has some caffeine in it. It can boost them up, but you're also then increasing heart rates, right?
Yeah.
And then you're going out and playing, and you're increasing their heart rates even more. So is that a good thing? When we listen to some of our cardiologists are like, no, it's bad. Don't do energy drinks at all. You also don't know completely what they're putting in them,
Yeah.
right? They're not controlled.
Yeah.
So they would rather see nutrition, fueling the correct way, making sure you have a balance in that regards. But we have had some nutritionists that are like, 100 milligrams of caffeine isn't terrible, and others are like, do it naturally. So
Yeah.
I'm old school. I think, yes, let's stay away from them because you don't know how much it's going to hype up their hearts. It's going to race them. how is that going to affect them when then they get out to competition? So I
Yeah.
am not a believer of them. I'd like to see them just get their natural energy and be excited for the match or game that they're about to play and warm up that way.
See, I knew I was going to like you. All right, we're getting kind of close to the end here, but I want to touch on this one because this seems to come up a lot. Lifting, right? Especially in those Olympic sports. Maybe I see it a lot in tennis. In football, basketball, baseball, it's kind of mindset of, oh, get in there, get in the gym, lift, get strong. And I feel like the hard part for coaches and those of us in this industry is getting across to the what is it, non-traditional lifting sports, right? A tennis or golf or something like that. How important lifting is, and how important it is to do it the right way, not just go in the gym, throw up some chest press, and then a couple of selfies, and then you're done, right? Which happened basically. What is your take on lifting and how it should be viewed by these athletes?
I think it's huge. I think it's a great way to prevent injuries. It's also a great way for them to improve in their sport, right? Every sport has some kind of power component to it. You
Yep.
talk about tennis. Well, I mean, a serve is powerful. Them having to get from one side of the court to the other as quick as possible, they're having to push off. That's power. So I think educating the coaches or the athletes on how much increasing that strength can help them perform in their sport and even be more successful gets them to buy into it. And then doing it in a safe way, right? If you don't have the core muscles, you can't go in and start doing Olympic lifts, and every
Right.
sport might not need that. So having the basic foundation of core, you know, hip strength, good back power strength for those overhead sports, the more back strength they can have, will cause less injuries with their shoulders. The more hip flexibility and core strength in those glutes, right? Glutes is one of the biggest muscles of the body. Utilize it. We don't do it enough. So I think getting those basic foundations down and then being able to utilize it. And I think if you can get a good strength coach that understands every sport is not the same,
Yeah.
what are your sport specific movements, and doing more to that, right? Same with even football, right? A lineman is not doing the same as a wide receiver. So they train them differently. They all need core and some kind of power, but being able to sit down in a stance where their butt's almost touching their heels for linemen, right?
Yeah.
They need to have that range of motion, where a running back is up and has to get a sprint quick, get out of their stance very quick. So training is very important on how they do that, and it can help you or hurt you when it comes to injuries. So the better foundation they can get and really train sport specific for their strength and their position only helps them from not getting injured.
Right.
And I think
Well,
one thing that's not looked at enough is stretching. The more flexible you are, the better off you're going to be too. And I think we lose that. I think when I first started, I didn't look at that very much. Now I'm like, okay, you wonder why your low back hurts. You can't touch your toes with flexibility. Hip flexibility, being able to go side to side. If that's super tight, it's going to make it harder and you're going to pull more things. A lot of that soft tissue can come from not being flexible enough and not being strong enough.
yeah. Well, Elizabeth, this has been great time with you talking. I've been learning a lot. I want to finish with this one question, though, is um, kind of how has mental health awareness for these athletes changed over the last, say, 5 or 10 years? And then maybe where do you see us going here in the future?
Oh, I think it's changed tremendously. Like we talked about, when we did sports, we didn't talk about it at all. Now it's best practices in the NCAA. They've mandated yearly education at the universities for each division. So we do education for mental health on a regular basis, yearly basis. I think it's going to continue to grow. I think the generations are more in tuned with their feelings and how to do things. So we have to hit the mental health. I think you're going to see more and more sports psychologists and counselors around the college, and it'll get more to youth, I think, also.
Yeah.
And I think partly, I don't want to say we're just seeing it because people are more in tune, but I think we're realizing in sport how much the mental plays a part in you being successful in your sport. The mind, how it can help you be better in your sport. So I think training that can also help you. And getting away from the stigmatism, right? If you're only going to see a counselor because there's something wrong with me. No. I train my body for 3 hours a day at practice, but I don't train my mind to be prepared to handle all the sport. So I think continuing to work on those, and you see that with elite athletes. You know, they're all doing those things. They're training their mental. They do the meditation. They're doing imagery. Let me go out and see myself win this match or win the race before I even go do the race. That's mental training. And I think it's a piece that we've never touched on, and it's just becoming even bigger and bigger. And then I know, right, there's been more sad circumstances. We have some suicides in sports. And you think of those people as the strongest people out there, and they're not talking about their feelings. And so we've really tried to hit on those stigmatisms. You know, Helinski's Hope, Morgan's Message. They're very big with student athletes and getting their message across about it's okay to talk about mental health, and if you're not in a good space, to talk with them. There's some professional sports using like On Rise, which is athletes talking to athletes because they're going to understand them.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard when you go to a counselor as a student athlete. They don't understand your schedule. They don't understand the demands of sports. They don't understand the pressures that you might be getting from coaches, parents, yourself. So when you can talk to people that have done those, it makes it easier. And that's why I think you get into a lot of the sports psychology, because they understand the demands. You know, every school has school counselors, or colleges have the psychology services. But we have two that are just in athletics because they understand the schedules and the demands.
Yeah.
You know, they can do sessions at 8 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock at night because that's the only time the student athletes have. And so I think the student athletes have to understand, if you need to talk to someone, there's resources out there, and it might not, we're going to try to make it fit into your schedule. And it's okay to talk about it. You're actually stronger being able to talk about that I'm struggling than if you just hide it. And that's really what we try to push at Stony Brook. Like, you actually are resilient and mentally strong when you can say, this is hard for me and I need some help. And I think that's just a change in thinking that even I've had to do, right? 'Cause I've come from just tough it out. You don't need to talk about it. And I think talking about it and learning how to work through it only makes you stronger. So then when the situation comes up, maybe in a game or just in life, now you know how to deal with it. And it doesn't knock you down where you feel like you can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
And that's what we want. And I think that's why a lot of employers look for student athletes, because they've learned to have issues or roadblocks or defeats or
Challenges.
lose, and they can keep going.
Yeah.
And it's the same with injuries, right? Like an athlete that has been through a season-ending injury and then has to come back the next year and be successful, they get in a game and maybe get hit, or they're down by two, and they're like, this is nothing compared to the 6 months of rehab I had to do. You know,
Yeah.
Elizabeth was killing me in there, having to do all this stuff. This is nothing. This is easy compared to what I went through. So I think that strengthens them, and it gives them a new confidence to be able to move through life difficulties.
Yeah. Well, Elizabeth, I can't thank you enough for your time and your energy and your expertise, and a lot of really good information for our listeners to players, the coaches, the parents that listen in. You've been listening to Elizabeth Zanolli from Stony Brook University. A lot of great information. This is the Sport Fuels Life podcast. Once again, appreciate you being here with us, Elizabeth, and I hope our paths cross sometime down the road.
Absolutely. And if anyone has any questions or something, they want to give them to you, I'd be happy to answer them. You can give them my information. But hopefully it was helpful, even if it's just one thing you took away from it.
Hey, sometimes it's just one little nugget. I say that all the time. If you get one or two little nuggets, you're hitting home runs right there. So, Elizabeth, thank you again. Best of luck in your summer, getting ready for the fall season. So I know you're not just hanging out. You're busy.
They come back pretty quick nowadays.
Yes, they do. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching Sport Fuels Life podcast. I'm Bill Roder, your host. Elizabeth, thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.